Hello and welcome back once again to Stormveil Castle. Last time we went this way until we unlocked the shortcut, and now we are going down this shortcut to explore Stormveil Castle a bit more. Oh, wrong side. This side. I think last time we had a look at this room, and there's still this crafted sign inside, but we also had a look at this part, so I'm not doing that again. And this is the next room, and we were up there before, right? We could we actually look down here? I'm not quite sure. But it looks like we were on that part before. I think. Maybe not. An ordinary tree? Looks quite dead to me. Well, but it's a normal tree. It's a dead normal tree. It's not one of those death fruit trees. Same with this one. Again, what is this area for? Maybe this was a small garden. Could have been a small garden. I mean, it's a bit hard getting light in here for all the flowers, but, well. Let's open this thing up and see what is inside. Alright, I remember, yeah. There is a weaponry here, or you can actually... Yeah, there are a lot of weapons here. And a fire. So apparently this dude made all these weapons with this small anvil. Okay. So maybe this is the blacksmith. I mean, very small blacksmith. And I don't know... You have this big hammers, and then your anvil is on the ground. It's not even higher up, so you have to basically sit down while hammering, making it a bit harder. I don't think this shield was made at this point here, at this spot. They were imported. There's no way this is a blacksmith office. No way. I don't believe you. There are a few good items here. On top of that, the misery cord and a wet blade. And then we have this little thing that is made for what exactly, I don't know. But it seems to me they had some railing here. So maybe this is for a smoke break or something. You could go out of here and smoke, because in here you're not inhaling enough smoke already. Oh, I'm proud. This one actually has a hole, so the smoke can actually escape. That's pretty nice. But yeah, not much to say about this, rather than I don't believe that weapons are actually made here. At least they were not forming steel here. I don't believe that. Not a bit. Way too uncomfortable. This anvil position. Again, hanging corpses. We already discussed this last time. There is another one. Fireplace over here with actually... Again, no hole. They like their fireplaces, right? There are a lot of fireplaces. But they ate here. But let's have a look at these limbs. Holy shit, that looks disgusting. Just imagine your king or lord or whatever came to you and said, let me put some limbs onto your body. Let me graft some limbs onto you. Ugh. I mean, even if this is possible, let's just imagine grafting would be possible. Let's just imagine it would be possible. Like, would you want to look like this? I mean, like for real? No one wants to look like this. They did a bad job with grafting here. What is this room here? Another pantry. Just a room where you can put stuff. Basically like every room ever. Something where you can put stuff. And there's possibly some food, maybe food for horses, and again weaponry, a lot of weapons, a lot of dead bodies. Disgusting. Then there's this small staircase, which looks nice. I like it, I like it. That leads up here. And I mean, this would be better if this was a second floor, a complete second floor, because then you could actually put stuff up here. And now you have just, I mean, you can light these torch thingies up here, but that's it. This is just so you can actually turn on the lights. That's silly. Oh well. But now we are in the courtyard. And we've seen this one before. There were actually two instances where we could get into the courtyard. First instance, we could jump down from there. We actually were up here before. We could jump down, and we were at this place over here. So there are basically multiple ways leading to this position. Then when we have a look at this position right now, up there is the chapel on top of the wall. There's actually a lower part to the chapel. A church. I call it a chapel, it's quite small. And then behind this wall there's this big ass hole that leads down there. So from where are we coming? We came from here, and before we have a look at the courtyard, before we are doing that, we go down here into the cellar. And this is quite interesting. This is quite interesting because, as you can see, there are two flaps, two doors. You can close it. But these doors would, the way they are positioned, they probably would just bend down, and then you have this arch which is exposed, so it is not really hiding this door over here. So you probably want doors here and here, so there's no rainfall in here, right? Because when there's rainfall, it either, if this door is if this door is sealed, the rain is going to gather here, especially when it can't flow in between these stairs. And if the door isn't sealed shut, then the water is coming down here, the rainwater. And what is in here? This is another pantry. Is it called pantry? Right, it is. I think it is called pantry, where you store your food. There's a lot of food here, and this is obviously rotten because, well, these people here are no longer sane, so to speak. Which is interesting. Let's talk about that for a bit, because when I first played this game I was confused. Now I could manage to get my head around this, but people here are still like zombies, right? In the Dark Souls series they were like zombies because of the curse, right? They went hollow. In Bloodborne they antagonize the hunter because they were turning into beasts. And they went a bit insane. And in Bloodborne you had basically different factions with interest in such. And in this game, all these people are immortal? Is it because of that? Or because they're immortal? Maybe? And they lost... They went basically also... They went hollow, but for a different reason. And I still don't really know why. Maybe because they live forever. Then, I don't know. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about this ugly-ass pantry. And just imagine the smell. There's a rat infestation here. Giant rat infestation at that point. I wouldn't go down here. Wine barrels. And just your ordinary pantry with chains on the ceiling for some reason. But it looks nice. Maybe it looked nice once, but now it looks disgusting. Just imagine the smell down here. Oof. But this is nice level design. For some reason there is a... I still don't know. This is a weird thing to me, right? Because... do these things exist? The stone sword doors thingies here. Does this exist just for level design, so the player has to sacrifice a stone sword key, or is it a actual feature that they use to contain stuff in the world itself? Right? Because if it's an actual feature, and I'm going to assume it is an actual feature in this world itself, that you can seal off certain areas with stone sword key magic, I guess, so that no one can get into it, then I wonder what's so important to actually hide. And in these chests there is possibly the answer, and just because of lore reasons I'm going to pick this up. In here we have the Godskin prayer book, which you can give to a teacher to teach you incantations, and here there is the Godslayer's seal. And let's have a look at these weapons actually. Where are they? Godslayer's seal. The sacred seal of the Godskin Apostles, inlaid with obsidian. Said to represent the manipulation of black flame, this catalyst enhances Godslaying incantations. Not that much lore behind this. Seal itself just says it belongs to the Godskin Apostle, or it's a seal the Godskin Apostle use. And then, where is it? It's under key items, right? Yeah. And then the Godskin prayer book, which when you look closer, when you have a look at the picture itself, you can see, first of all, the book cover, at least, is made out of skin, and you can actually see a nose part in there, and possibly some other body parts, which is kind of disgusting. Prayer book bound, well, it says it right here. Prayer book bound in supple skin. Incantations of the god-slaying black flame are written within. Can be given... yeah, okay. Not much lore either, but someone just sealed them in here. Probably not Godric, because he's a lunatic, but possibly Godfrey, or maybe Godfrey got tasked to put it in here, or someone else, by America or someone like this. Okay, now, oh well, and then there's another way, which I personally find, I mean, it makes sense, because this was sealed, right? So let's just imagine from a world-building perspective they can actually use this feature in the game itself, like in the world itself. Then we are up here again. we were here before because we came from this ladder. So maybe they can use this as a quick path to the entrance of the gate. Maybe not, I don't know. Seems to me quite silly putting a doorway there, but I don't know. What else? Let's have a look at the courtyard. First of all these trees are fairly dead. I mean, they have some leaves on there, but they are not looking that healthy, to be honest. So dead trees all over the place. And let's start actually from the front. We had a look at these nonsensical flamethrowers. Oh, it's fueled by magic. Okay. Well, if magic is always the answer, then, well, goddamn. But then we have, for some reason, I don't really get this. Because there is all this defense, right? Everything is manned, so there are people actually here. This is so they're expecting someone to come in. Was it Godric who put them in here so he was safe from his fellow demigods because he wants to defend his Great Rune? Well, then I have very bad news from shortly. But actually, I have nothing to say about this courtyard. I mean, it looks... Let's have a look at this building first. Excuse me. Quite the ugly building in my opinion, but well, what will you do? And you can actually go up these things. Thank God. Quite dark in here. You might want to put up a torch on a wall or something. But thanks. These things look like you can hang... What's it called? Stuff in here to hold weapons. I don't know how these things are called. And then you can shoot out of these things. It's not manned, but who cares, right? It's possible. Same thing on the other side. Glad that they are actually accessible at this point. But not much to say about this. I mean, they have a lot of explosive barrels here, which are maybe there to fuel these flamethrowers somehow. But why would a flamethrower use black powder? If it's a cannon, yes, then it makes sense. But for a flamethrower, black powder? How are you going to... No, it would explode in your face, basically. Not a good idea, putting explosive barrels here. Not a good idea. At least not as so close to your other dudes. Video looks very nice. You can, if there are enemies in here, you can shoot them from every side. What is wrong right now? Excuse me, oh man. And then there is this part, and we are currently underneath the chapel. And it's kind of weird, it's more library than chapel. You have these church church thingies here, seats, these wooden church seats, whatever. And then you have a painting in here, which you can actually grab. I like these paintings. But then most of the time it's a library, but well, why shouldn't it be? When you can actually see this room from up there, where for some reason there is wind right now. I find it kind of sad that you can't walk up these things. Oh. Oh. Aw. Come on. Come on, you can do it. Aw. New exploit right there. Or let's have a look at the door. Earth tree, and then... Thanks. And then... Ah, we've seen this one before. A reused asset. Well, but why not? And this is interesting now, because they actually have a omen here. And a dog. Look at this dog, it looks ugly and it's blind. It is blind, well, and it's ugly. Then we have the omen here. This is a human, or whatever race they are, cursed or blessed, whatever you want to call it, by the omen curse, or blessing, most of the time curse. Which lets their bodies enlarge. They're getting very bulky and they're growing horns. And this one got their horns cut, so I think this one is a noble. Quote-unquote noble. Because usually they just throw their omen babies into the sewer. But this one is not in the sewer. So this might be a noble, but it looks great. I don't really get it. I mean, it's religion based, so it's not based on actual facts, and they're not here to make this dude feel comfortable. So it's not medicine, but it's religion, so it's nonsensical, right? But these horns, they clearly have blood vessels in them, so it's not like a horn from a rhino or something like this, right? Where you can actually cut it off and it doesn't hurt the animal. Like physically, there's no physical pain. If it hurts the animal in the long run because they can't fight anymore, that's a different story. But it's not like there are blood vessels in here, so when you cut them, they're bleeding. So just imagine the pain this one goes through, and just imagine getting an infection in one of those many wounds. It's a wonder, or it's a miracle that that they were not bleeding out. Because so many wounds, holy shit. Just imagine in how much pain this dude is. Because when there are horns, you're most likely not in pain, right? That just grows on your body. Maybe they're quite uncomfortable, because just imagine having horns on your back and then you're trying to sleep and you can't really sleep because you're lying down on your horns, and then ugh. What a miserable existence that is. So here we are now. You have a body dude, and then there is this big asshole, and we possibly can, or we can jump down here. This is how I actually managed to get down there, because I have, for my first playthrough, I haven't found the way through this door, and this was a stupid thing, right? This was so stupid. And again, what is this room? A bunch of chains for some reason on the roof, on the ceiling. I don't know why. And then armor, weaponry, boxes, tools to build or assemble your siege equipment, an elevator shaft, which for some reason you can call down. I don't know if this is intentional or not. But I've talked about these elevators, I don't like them. From a gameplay perspective, from a world building perspective, they make no sense. But I really don't know why you can actually call down the elevator. This feels like a oversight to me. Because you actually have to call it down, so it was on the other position first, and for some reason something in my head tells me this wasn't meant to be lowered down quite yet. Or maybe they've just decided this is possible, but this is not the way we are going right now. The way we are going is this way, onward. And here's another one of these things that I absolutely don't like. But I think I have I have a different video on my channel where I explain things to make multiplayer better, and there's a reason for them. A reason why I don't like them. I mean, I don't mind them, but it's not the solution they're seeking for, in my opinion. And I hate this area because there are again these firebirds. There are 2 of them. Try and burst them down. To be honest, just try and burst them down. They're so terribly dangerous if you're not careful. Up here, nice thing, you can shoot down. Maybe you can hold a speech of some sort. So you can talk to your dudes. Oh, and I haven't talked about the statue down there. I need to talk about the statue. So, this statue, you see the glow. Something needs to attack this statue. And I wonder where it actually stood before. Just imagine, where would you put this statue here? I really don't know where I would put it. It doesn't fit anywhere, to be honest. But you need a troll, basically, to attack it. And there is a troll in here, which is great. Yay. The omen isn't enough. The omen can't destroy it. At least not with the attacks that I've seen. So past these angry birds. Ooh, what are these? I wonder. Are these lifts or are these gallows or something completely different? No, not gallows. They're lifts, right? To lift things up. Maybe. Maybe not. I don't really know. Would make more sense to get stuff over the wall. But then we have this little room in here with an NPC.
Be proud. You were a fine warrior. Your only mistake was your choice of master. Let the winds lift you to a higher place.
Well, when she's doing this speech to everyone she kills, then oh boy, she has to talk a lot.
Well, who do we have here? Tarnished, are you? Clearly not one of Godric's lot. I am Nefeli Lu. Tarnished and warrior, like you. I'm here by decree of my father. How utterly repellent this is. This grafting of Godric's ill befits a lord. He's tainted the very winds. If you intend to challenge Godric, I ask you call upon me. The winds run foul with his deeds. I'm certain father would permit me aid the fight. Apologies, but I've idled long enough. As fellow Tarnished, we must each follow our own guidance, down whatever road takes us to the throne of Elden Lord.
Okay. First of all, let's have a look at the room. There is no door, so water is going to splash in here when it rains. But, well, not much to say. Just another storeroom where, for some reason, Nefeli Lu killed a banished knight. Great, right? So, not much to say about Nefeli Lu right now. Maybe I'm doing one day a series about NPCs or NPC quest lines, but not quite yet. I mean, she wears the champion set that you can actually, or the hero set, hero champion, something like this, I don't know. From a starter class, strength based basically. Yeah, not much to say about her, quite yet. And the father she's talking about is Sir Gideon, who is actually not her father, but her... what's it called? He adopted her. Then there is a little seat over here, some flowers. And this is what I mean. This is... I have no problem with this. So Here we have a house, or multiple houses, where you could do whatever, but they're locked, you can't get into them, and why not put on the towers doors that you can't go through? Because this is completely fine. I mean, they could have made a better job with not painting everything black, you're not supposed to look in, but this is fine. Like, I have no problem with that. Or boarded shut like this one, for example, or this, no problem. And this one has no door. This one has no door. Why? The other one has a door. This one has no door. Great. I actually can't get into this one. Maybe from the wall. Why would a house be connected to a wall but not to the street? That makes no sense. Some fancy statues, meaning there's something interesting behind this gate, and we can actually see the golden glow of the grace. But let's have a look at the statue first. These dudes are holding plant spears, or plant spears, depending on what English you're speaking. Not much to say about this. Something about earth tree, golden earth tree with a spear. Church clothing. Religion. Yes. And we have a lion. Siraj, basically. But here we have it. Here is the troll that, when you remember the statue, that you have to aggro and drag back to the statue so that he can actually destroy the statue. If you want to have the actual stuff that's in the statue, and you possibly want to get it. Eagle up there. Nice little death box you can build here again. And then there is another grace. Great, right? But the path to the final boss fight, which is this one, is fairly quick. Behind this gate, or this fog wall, there's Godric the Grafted, and here we can summon Nepheli with 2 Stormhawk axes or something like this. And in here, there's another path. And let me just, because I'm already talking for like half an hour, let's make it morning, because I don't like the night. It's too dark at night. Makes most areas look ugly because of the heavy blue tint everything gets. And I'm not a fan of that. And for some reason they thought this statue, this summoning pool, should stay at this position and not closer to the fog gate. I mean, I would put the summoning pool at this position. In this corridor at least. Because not many people are going to, when they're searching for help for the boss, most of the time they're not going this way. And sometimes they're not even seeing this one, so weird position. But what do we actually have here? Because this is interesting now. Because it looks like, at least, there was a roof here. There was a roof. And maybe you could go into this part. Maybe there was something here. Maybe another cellar, different room, I don't know. But there was a roof, at least up to... Well, that's conflicting. Maybe up to here, because then... I don't think there was a roof on top of all of this, because it doesn't look broken down here. It starts breaking down at this point, so there was a roof at this point here. Started to form a roof here. And who knows what's in down here? Maybe it goes down to the hole or something different. But then we have a second floor here. We could... and probably up to this point. And it, from the parts that fell down, it doesn't look like it had a railing either. Well. But then, and then this one had a roof as well. This one had a roof as well. And then what's in here currently, there are pot boys, these small little pot boys. And then a big pot boy and an item. Not much to do here, not much to actually see here because they're just some boxes. But an interesting part nonetheless. Then you can go out of here, and again, there is no door, so this one actually had a roof. And the door is a rainwater, and there's even rainwater here. Nice. So all of this gets flooded. And then when we go back in here, there's the actual elevator. And down there is the grace. So you can basically just go this way, skip all of these stupid ass firebirds, these two down there, skip the troll, and I'm not sure if this was intended or not. Maybe it is. Maybe it's a secret because the elevator is up. It's usually up. It is on the upper floor, but maybe the player is supposed to think, oh, this is a shortcut that I can unlock, and the player is not even trying getting the elevator down. And then the player's going the long way, but the smart player knows they can take the elevator and take a shortcut. Could be not. But this is the part that I, for some reason, missed. Because there's an item over here. And the game basically tells us there's an item here, there's wood here for some reason. Someone built this for some reason. You can jump to this part. And I missed this one. Because I've played offline for the first... I don't know, my first playthrough or so. Well, not for my first playthrough, but... the first few days, maybe... Was the multiplayer not working? I can't remember the start of the game. But then you can get to this part and you can actually jump over here and you don't need to run. You just have to jump. You don't need to run and jump, just jump. And then there's a room here. And these things are silly. This is just silly. Why do these very deep windows exist? Like... only for gameplay reasons, right? No world building whatsoever. And then, for some reason, here's a no staircase. I mean, how are people supposed to get on here? Do they have to jump down? Like, just put stairs up here, for God's sake. Then there's a bird and a... Oh, is he mourning this other bird? Oh, that is interesting. This one has... Ooh, and there's blood on the... So it's... Okay, it pierces through the wing. Oh, that is cruel. Pierces actually through the wing. I thought it was wrapped around, like shackles, but it goes actually... Oh. Then he's mourning the bird for some reason. So they're not prisoners, they're allies. Why would the bird be happy with... I don't care. Basically torture them, but it doesn't make sense. And we can go in here, and there's also an interesting room. A lot of bookshelves, not shelves, it's A lot of high shelves. This is funny. There's a shelf on top of a shelf. Because I just wondered why there's this double layer up here. But they just copied one shelf on top of the other. Nice. Yeah, why not? Why make yourself more work if you're just using... You can just stack them on top of each other. Then for some reason they built this one, so they... I think this confirms it. Finally, this confirms it. So this was built afterwards. So they actually poked, because usually there was like a roof, right? Broke off here and there was a roof. And this is kind of weird. Or maybe it doesn't confirm it. But then for what? Why did they build this one? This looks... This is weird. And why do I... Why can I... Oh... Cheat engine. I ticked on the wrong box on the cheat table. Okay, I was wondering. Just ignore it for now. I guess there was... Oh, I'm not talking about this again, so... This was... Maybe there's a roof here, maybe not. Why there's a wall here, I don't know. I mean, there's not much visual indicator what this platform was meant for. And maybe this wooden part just exists, so... But then, where are the stairs, and why isn't this just stone here? Just weird things. But the mixture of wood and stone looks interesting, I guess. I really like mixing up things. I also like that there are wooden beams in between these walls. It just looks nice. Well, for some reason they bent it here, this spot. And then there's this small room with a lot of windows for some reason. And you can go down here. Wooden platforms. Just a storage room probably again. And how are you supposed to get to these barrels? I wonder. There's so much stuff in between now. I mean, you can climb through there, but why making it hard for yourself? Why not just creating an entrance here and then... This is silly, right? They clearly put just things here so it looks not so empty, but then just make a little opening here so it makes actually sense that these beams are just there to support the wood up here. Kinda a bit disappointed now that I'm looking at these things much closer. It doesn't really matter, but it's the little things, right? When you have to design a room, if you have to put stuff in it, why not make it more interesting? But this is what I don't really get. Or do I? I'm confused again. Shit. And I think I'm gonna do everything in this episode though, or the rest of the castle. So I have 15 minutes to... so it's 1 hour. It's fine, I can do this. Just talking this, so you have to walk through all of this stuff. And then... Really? Okay, this is silly. This is silly, because these are no... There's no stair here, right? So this isn't meant to be when... This is not here so you can comfortably go through here. And the only way, currently, is through these windows. So there must have been something here. so you can get through here. And then there is a room here with heavy doors, so you possibly want to put stuff in here, but how do you get the stuff in here? It makes no sense. This part of the castle makes no sense. Why would you build it this way? Or maybe... And if there is actually a platform here that extends to this point, why... It's on... Huh? This layout hurts my brain. Because while it looks good, makes no sense to me. Can someone explain this to me? How did they get these barrels in here? Because this thing here, we are right now, is clearly just something to stand on and look at the view, I guess. Because this isn't meant to... You can't tell me that people are supposed to go down here. I mean, I can do this right now because it's broken off and because level design, because this is interesting. Level design, finding a secret is... This is... But I'm disappointed. I'm quite disappointed. Not gonna lie. It makes no sense. It makes no fucking sense. And this one is evil because you actually have to jump on here to grab this one. Oh, and this is where... This is where you can go to the Crucible Night. You can actually see it from there. So that here is a secret. Oh, look at Leonia and how ugly it is from this side. Oof. Low poly. This thing is annoying to open up. If you know what I mean, write it down into the comments. This is so annoying. Ooh, painting. Okay. Cliffs. Divine Tower. Is this Stormveil Castle? But without the castle? No. Could be, but it's a bit wrong. It looks nice nonetheless. And we have this part. And I'm treating this part as normal because this is actually the part where you can go through this. Like, there's the grace again. We are here again. Very nice. So this part is just here so you can get to this spot, right? And you can look down this giant ass hole. Yeah, now some parkour, some nice level design, and again for some reason there's wood here. I wonder, how do you get these wooden beams into the stone wall? Especially at some things outside, like when it's very high up. How are you supporting this? There's a wall, there's a brick wall. How do you put wood in there? From this position. Oh fuck. Like from a high how did they do this? I want to know. I mean, this wood wasn't in there before. Like, they rammed it in afterwards, after everything collapsed. Like, what the hell? How do you manage to do this? But well, I think this is an underused area. To be honest, I think this is an underused area. They could have put much more here, but actually what was it? Because it had an actual roof. There was a roof. I can't look that high, but I think I'm not supposed to look at this. Because these are hollow. There's missing texture. Someone was lazy there. But this had a roof, as we've seen up there. Actually, let's just... No, wrong button. Let's just use this feature that I accidentally that I accidentally turned on, because there is roofing here. There's a roof, so this one had a roof. When it probably was connected here, so it went up to this point. It's not just strange. Then there's a staircase, so this staircase was built with the roof in mind. Because this is a normal staircase, right? This is the makeshift one. This one was here before, so how... There's a roof. This roof usually goes up to this point. So I'm standing in the roof right now, on this part. Or maybe there was no roof here. Maybe it went higher up. Would be fine. But it's such a strange thing. Yeah, hello bed. There's nothing behind here. Look at these beds. They're looking quite intimidating. But they have a nice pattern on their wings inside. And I think this was used as a... This hole was used as a... I mean, because there's a drain here. So... To drain water or feces out of this thing. Maybe they haven't had toilets in here. Ugh. Just imagine having no toilet. Terrible. But yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. And so I guess who built this? Because this is strange, right? You could actually get down to this part, demonstrated by these stairs that are just broken off. And there's no wood, not enough wood for some reason down here. But you could get to this part from this gate, I guess. This gate right here in front of me, up here where the bed is. So you could get down here, and then for some reason someone thought, has it broken in? I don't know. Because this thing exists, and this is part of the castle, right? This is part of Castle Stormveil. There's one structure going up. Or maybe was there a roof? Oh. But they must have been curious, so just imagine. This whole thing... No, it makes no sense. So up there is a roof? But no. So this must have been open, because this thing exists, and this is part of Castle Stormveil, is it not? Or was this there before, and I don't know. I'm not a lore guy, but it is strange. Why does this stone thingy here exist? Why does this exist? For what purpose? So many questions. And here are the statues. Maybe they grabbed the statue from down there and lifted it up to the courtyard for some reason. Because some parts suggest that this was collapsed. This collapsed and they found this part down here with a lot of rats. But another thing tells me this was here because this is one continuous wall. So this wasn't found, this was here before. This wasn't unearthed, these catacombs here. Just a weird structure down here. And it was built down here, not it didn't fall down. Think. But then there are roots coming out of the ceiling. And it's conflicting because this... And I'm scratching my head right now because this is so strange. This is a crypt. There are dead bodies here buried, and then there are boats or coffins, or round boat coffins, whatever these are. And there's blue flame. Blue flame is catacomb flame, basically. Flame of death. Or death, right, bird flame thingy, whatever. There are good lore videos about this, but this doesn't really fit. Because the world building tells me this all was built by the dudes who built Castle Stormveil. This part I'm standing right now, up to this part. Everything was built by the dudes who built Castle Stormveil. And this part actually makes sense, but not really, was unearthed because the ceiling broke down. At least it feels like to me, but then why are there bones on top? So it's weird. It's weird. And there's an enemy down here. An ulcerated tree spirit, which, to be honest, doesn't belong in this game. This belongs in Dark Souls 3. And you can actually hear the sound it is making are sounds from the Dark Souls 3 Pass of Man enemies. Some of them, at least. So, well, doesn't belong here. But it's interesting, because these are normal roots, right? These are normal roots, these are not death roots. But these are catacombs. So usually catacombs... Are they built by the same people who built Castle Stormveil? Maybe, maybe not. And this is strange, the world building tells me different things. And here we have part of the corpse of Godwyn the Golden, or the Prince of Death. And yes, this is a face. And part of a body. Which is interesting. This is so interesting, because usually the Prince of Death is here. Underneath Leyndell. At this point, there. This is the Prince of Death. This is Godwyn the Golden. And because of lore, he isn't really dead. His body is still alive, but his spirit is dead. So for some reason this creates, he rots and he creates deathroot. Or these death blight. He creates death blight. That's what it's called. And here's a bloodstain of Roger getting impaled by... I don't know how he managed to get impaled, because I can attack this thing. I can tickle its nose, I can burn it with the torch, it won't attack me. But for some reason, Roger managed to get killed here. By Deathblight. How? I don't know, but this is still a mystery to me, because... It is so weird, because... And it feels like... To me at least, it feels like... they had a different story in mind, and this feels like a... What's it called? This feels like not cut content, but maybe they thought of this one first, and then they came up with this area. Because again, Castle Stormveil's corruption corrupting thorns on the outside of the walls look different to the actual Deathblight corruption thorns. They look different. And I mean, what it's supposed to be. This is supposed to be a shoot-off of Godwin the Golden, or the Prince of Death's shoot-off, like corruption shoot-off. Because all around the world there are death roots. There's deathroot over here, for example. There's deathroot over here. There's deathroot all over the place, basically. There's even deathroot in Farum Azula. How the fuck it got there, who knows, right? But it spread. And for some reason, only at this place, only at Stormveil Castle, there is this big of a corruption going on. There is actually a forming of a second phase of Godwin the Golden. Only in this place. I mean, you could argue, maybe there are more phases of Godwin the Golden. Maybe there's one in this ocean. Maybe there's one under this rock. But you haven't found it yet. And it still feels odd to me, right? But I take it. But I still don't get if this is actually part of Stormveil Castle, or if this is unearthed by an accident, by something breaking in. Because some parts, the parts up there, tell me this might have been part of Stormveil Castle, but this down here tells me a bit, especially by the roots, there's a broken roof and they just discovered it because of that. And it's so weird. Because to me this doesn't look broken off. This wall here, this doesn't look broken off. This looks like a natural wall. Like a natural stone wall. And the fact that the walls are connected, like that there's one wall at some point down here. One wall going up to the actual tower walls or walls of Stormveil Castle. Lets me think that this is part of Stormveil Castle itself. But the architecture is fucked. Especially in the last area where it was confused in this place especially. Like, this whole stuff is a nightmare. But, well, we have only two things to do now. I could go up this ladder, which I'm doing, but I think I'm going to fast forward it. And then we have to look at Godric the Grafted. Okay, and I just thought of something. Like, this is part of Stormveil Castle. Because why the fuck would someone build... Why is here a door in this empty space and there are boxes and there's no... This is so confusing, this layout of the castle. Why would you build this? There's even a torch, there are boxes down here. There's nothing broken off, so this was built by intent. This was intentional. And then there's this big drop. So you have to put a ladder there, up this wall, up this space, because there's a tree, so you have to put it somewhere at this part, because you don't want to put it in front of the door, so you want to put it at this point. And why would you put boxes here? What the fuck? And then for some reason no 10-kilometer long elevator. This is so fucked, man. I mean, I'm rating Stormveil Castle later. I'm rating it later because the longer I look at it, the less sense it makes from an architecture and world building perspective. Because it feels more and more like a level and not like an actual world. Well, let's go in here. No, don't care. The cutscene isn't part of it. He ignores me because I'm again invisible. So let's look. Let's have a look at this part. This thing is interesting because you could call this the... Is it called a keep? No, it's not. The keep is in there somewhere. I think where the grafted sun is somewhat. But this is the throne room. This thing with earth tree imagery all over the place. This round thing is the throne room. There's the throne of Godric, the grafted inside. And for some reason, someone thought this was also a good graveyard, because there are a lot of graves. And it's surrounded by walls. Walls that are very high up. And can you see what's down there? What this is actually part of? Is this water or is this rock? I don't know. Must have been a nightmare to build this whole castle, to be honest. Like, what the fuck? And it's a bit destroyed, and here we have a dragon, which is interesting, because this castle got attacked by a dragon, but this... not by this dragon. I mean, maybe by this dragon, but not only by this dragon, because there's no way this one dragon could destroy the castle like this. If the dragon alone could do this, then how the fuck did humanity survive in this game? Like, holy hell. But this is what I mean. This is what I mean by... I like these spikes, so you can actually impale dragons on them when they're not carefully flying around, right? Because then this happens, when they land on the walls there. They're getting impaled by something very sharp. It's quite funny that this is not covered in blood. I probably got it washed away by the rain at some point. But it looks fairly preserved. And he's admiring this dragon, but why the fuck would you want to look like this? How many legs do you need? The answer is yes, right? How many legs? I wonder if there's still one of his legs, like... Ugh. And how many arms do you need, and what positions? What? How does this make you stronger? Like... He looks handicapped to me. He doesn't look stronger. He doesn't look proud. He looks like a senile old lunatic who had a terrible accident with a, what's it called, a mad scientist, who got abducted by a mad scientist and experimented on. But with the twist that he is actually the mad scientist. What was that? Okay, on his coat on the other side. How the fuck? Is this corruption by power or corruption by stupidity? I don't know. Is this hand grabbing his balls? I mean, why not, right? If you have so many hands, like... Let's just get rid of him. Actually, let's trigger a second phase. Because he's even more stupid than that. Yeah, he crafts the dragon. Yeah, stop laughing, please. Actually, let's have a look at the... Can I make him lose aggro again? Maybe by jumping. Can I jump out of his... Because this looks quite cruel. Like, how the fuck did he rip out... Okay, let's just get rid of him, he's annoying. Yeah, who cares? But how the fuck can he graft this fast?
One day, we'll return
I mean...
to our home, bathed in rays of gold.
Okay. Good for you, buddy. I mean... He didn't cut the dragon. I haven't shown the cutscene quite now, right? Most of you know how the cutscene goes. And if you don't, why are you watching this video? So... He just pushes his hand into the dragon, his stump, that he cut off his arm, and then he pushes his stump, his freshly cut off part, into the dragon. A very blunt arm pushes into the skin of a dragon and rips it out. He doesn't cut the dragon at the neck. He just forces his stump, his very broad stump, into the dragon itself. Like, mid-fight, by the way, we are not doing anything about this, we're just looking. I would just keep attacking, but we just keep looking, right? Like, oh, he's doing something to that dragon, maybe I should stop him. No, I'm just watching. Let me watch. Because I'm an honorable tarnished. Who does apparently nothing. But this is a fucked up area, right? So we have basically an island surrounded by cliffs. I mean, it's a wonder that I got this island at the first place. It's surrounded by cliffs, surrounded by walls, going down to the ground of the cliffs, basically, down to the thingies, I don't know. And when you rest at the grace or reload the area, then there's Gustog, like, stomping on his head for some reason. Because Gustog hates everyone. But this is the throne room, right? And there's even a statue of Godfrey, because no one likes Godric, and Siraj, his stand, but who isn't really a stand. And this is just a throne room. Then we have here something. A lot of urns. Maybe for the dead, because like I don't know, there's a graveyard for some reason in front of the... Why would you put a graveyard in front of your throne room? Like, what? And why does it look like a crypt? But okay, there's a throne room, you could sit on there. There's a room with a lot of vases. Maybe all your drinks you wanna have. There's no toilet here, by the way. I haven't seen a single toilet, so I just assume they're either shitting and pissing in these pods, or they're just shitting and pissing on the street. And this is the biggest no, I don't like it. This is interesting. I'm quiet right now because I'm hearing something. Is it just to torch us? This petting, these three pet sounds. Like, shit, it's loud. Oof, sorry. Let's make it a bit more. And yeah, I don't like music usually. Don't like the overworld music, that's why music is at 0. No, I thought I was hearing something that was quite familiar, but isn't. And then you have this room with ceiling lighting, where there shouldn't be ceiling lighting. Not more vases, looks like a crypt of some sort. Then there's a ladder. By the way, this is the throne room, right? You can get a Shabriri grape here. This is a Shabriri grape. An eyeball. And then this leads outside. So, imagine you're having enemies. Imagine you're having enemies, right? And someone is scouting your castle. Maybe a black knife assassin of some sort. Maybe they're invisible, right? They find this entrance. They can just go in, and by the way, you can do this at the start of the game. You can get in here. You can actually walk around the castle. You don't need to enter the castle. You can go this way, go around here, and you're up here. You can get to Leonia without going through Stormveil Castle. You can just climb up here. And this is, by the way, the biggest oof of the entire castle. This is the biggest oof moment. You can just go up here. No guards, nothing. And then there's sitting the Lord, Godric of some sort. And then you just assassinate them. No big deal. Just who cares about the guards outside? And yes, you can actually get into the throne room. The only thing that is hindering you from attacking Godric is this stupid door that won't open to the outside. But you can actually stand here when Godric is still alive, standing in the room waiting for you to come in from this side. And you're standing here. And this is something that I don't get, right? Magic exists in this game. So why not at least seal this one with a stone sword key? Why not make this the most trapped area in the entire game that you can only disable with putting a stone sword key in there, or with cranking a lever for some shit like this. I mean, it is open. You don't even have a gate in here. And then there is a lord who is supposed to sit in here. A important figure. And the important figure is actually the least defended. This is actually the least defended part of the whole castle. There's not even a gate here that you have to open. Nothing. Your enemies can just walk in here. Maybe there's no ladder. Yeah, then it just can walk in here with a ladder, climb up and assassinate you. Like, what the fuck? why even having all these walls to begin with? If enemies can just walk in here. But it's a hidden entrance, yet just send an assassin that is completely cloaked. Send them to scout the castle before you attack. You have these things in the game. But this was, and this is still, Stormveil Castle. So I think Stormveil Castle starts strong and is a very fun level to go through. It's just fun. Maybe it's just me, because I really like fighting humanoid enemies. I like fighting enemies that have similar weapons to me. I like my occasional monster, but I really like fighting enemies that you can backstab, that you can parry. I like to do that stuff, right? That are not too big. Humanoids. So, and there are a lot of humanoids in this level. Okay, there are some birds there, which I don't like. There's a lion guardian in here, which is fine. Troll, omen, everything fine. The enemies are fine. I really like it. And from a world building perspective, it looks amazing. Like, level design is top. I really like that you have different options. It's a fairly complex area for itself. I haven't seen this in Dark Souls itself. All these areas were quite easy to navigate, and I had not really problems navigating this my first time around, but it was definitely quote-unquote harder to navigate than a area in Dark Souls, for example. And with Dark Souls I mean 1, 2 and 3. And I like the aesthetics. But then there are some, and with some I mean half of the castle itself basically, where I just look at it and scratch my head, because why would you build it this way? Why is there no door or no tower? Why are there ways that are very inconvenient to actually navigate as someone who lives in this castle? And then at the very end, why do you have a back door into your throne room? Like, I mean, yes, it makes sense for two reasons. Maybe, first thing, from a level perspective, you're done with this level and then you can move onward. They want you to go to Liurnia after Stormveil Castle. This is what the game tells me from a level design perspective. After Stormveil Castle, you're going to Liurnia, and here's the quickest way to that area. Because this way, to be honest, might be a bit hidden. This is a bit hidden. Not everyone is going to find this, maybe. I mean, the remedy to that would be just to restore this bridge, and then people know, oh, there's a bridge, I can actually get this way to Liurnia. But then this whole area is basically nonsensical, so I get why they built this from a level design perspective. But why is it then so easy to access from the outside? It makes no sense from a world building perspective. And I get it, castles, at least some castles, have their hidden backdoor where you can actually flee through if you're getting besieged, or where you can get stuff into, smuggle stuff into. And it makes sense having a second, not so well known entrance, right? But then it's not even really well hidden. There's no boulder in front of it. There's not even a gate. Nothing there to conceal it, which is a bit odd, don't you think? So let me rate Stormveil Castle. First of all, level design. And I might change this rating later on. probably when I'm done with locations, I might do a tier list, location tier list, and I might change things around because I really like Stormveil Castle. This is a really fun area to go through. And especially I really like early game areas because in the early game it needs to be viable for every playstyle, and in the late game they can get away with some unfair things because in the late game you have more options. But in the early game you have not as much options. I mean, let's say you start off with sword and shield, then it's a bit hard to spec into good magic, right? But at the beginning you could argue everything is viable in the beginning. Like, you can deal good damage to these enemies with 10 points into intelligence and doing mage stuff, right? But the area is viable for every playstyle. A bit harder to clear the whole area with only melee attacks. I would advise you to get at least a bow, or get a bow, not at least a bow, but I think the bow is the best tool beside your sword and board playstyle, but I really like this level, so let me rate it for now. I would give it... I think I do a 1 out of 10, right? No, like 1 to 10, not 1 out of 10, but 1 to 10. 10 is the best design of the game for me, and 10 is good and 1 is bad. I would give it, from a level design perspective, I think an 8 or a 9, because this is a solid level, and it's fun to go through. From a world building perspective, I would give it a 6, maybe? Because when you go through the level, and you're just playing, you're having fun, you're not thinking about it hard, then I would give it an 8. But now that I've thought about it, that I've actually had a closer look at stuff, it's dropping quite a bit. And maybe it's 6, maybe it's worse than a 6, but I still like the design. It just has a lot of nonsensical stuff in it, which is a bit sad, quite sad, but I get it, it's a fantasy game, but I mean, I give it a 6, or maybe a 7, 6 or 7, because no, I stay with 6, because there's so many mistakes, like this back door, that I'm just not a fan of, and they're random ass holes in the wall. Do you like the level? How would you rate it? Do you really like it? Did I step on your toes? Or do you really hate it? Do you mind all these mistakes, or do you care? Do you even care about them? Have you even thought about them? Write it down into the comments, and I might do more locations. I'm probably doing more locations. Probably for now, maybe the next one is going to be a smaller one. Maybe I stay in Leonia and do some other locations here. Write down in the comments what would you like to see, or what you would like to see from locations. With locations, I would... If you want to suggest something, then a specific location would be good. Not a whole area, because let's just imagine I go through whole Liurnia, then that would take ages, or would just be completely boring. Because I think Stormveil Castle was fairly interesting. Oh well, but write it down to the comments. How would you rate it? How would you? What would you like to see next? And that's it from me. Goodbye.